Hi guys, it's Jay and welcome back to my channel. Before we begin, this happened. Don't even ask why. I just wanted to cut all my hair and this was better than going bald. Let's begin the video. So I made a list of 10 books that I have read in the past and that I would definitely reread at any point in the future. And so I'm gonna briefly talk about each of them. And what I wanna say before we begin is that the order of the list does not have any rhyme or reason. So the first book is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. I think I read it maybe almost 3 years ago. It's obviously about David Copperfield. I think it was just a very nostalgic, very melancholic read for me because you just witness a person's life. And it is just interesting to see how people perceive certain situations differently, how they experience certain things, and how their circumstances influence their choices. So the second book is called, also I have my list here, so if I'm looking down to check if I'm saying things correctly. The second book is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I mentioned this book in my previous video once. So this book is a dystopian sci-fi about Kathy, Ruth, and Tommy, and they go to a special boarding school, and later on you will find out what the purpose of that special boarding school is. We see how they grew up, we see how they interact with each other, and we also see how each character values their friendship, their kind of romantic relationship. In some sense, you can see it as a coming of age because all of these characters graduate from the boarding school, go into real lives, and live their lives. The third book is Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling, and I also mentioned this in a previous video. But as you guys might know, I think it was her first non-Harry Potter related book, and it is an adult fiction. It deals with a lot of serious problems, or should I say more serious problems. And so this is, the book is about the townspeople of Peckford and how they react to the news of Barry Fairbrother's death. And this book, I think, beautifully illustrates different aspects of human nature and how we can or cannot change due to some drastic, extreme life events. The fourth book is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. He is one of my favorite authors. I have read a lot of his work, and I think 1Q84 is so far my favorite one. So this book follows around Aomame and Tengo. Aomame is a serial killer and Tengo is a part-time writer, or a writer and a part-time teacher, I think. And there are two parallel universes, one of which has a second moon, I think. If you haven't read any of Haruki Murakami's books, you should read one of them and then check out this one, because for people who want to start reading Murakami, this might not be a good choice because it is a pretty thick book and usually his books are very slow paced. So if you're not into slow paced books but you want to get into them, and if you want to read more of Murakami, I would suggest you start with something else and then definitely reading 1Q84. The fifth book I have here is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. As you guys might know, it is a very controversial book. Some shooters have said in the past that they were motivated by the book. They got their order from the book. So as far as I know, some high schools even banned the book from their literature schedule. I think everyone should definitely read it. The book deals with a lot of teenage angst and teenage miscommunication and just like teenage perspective of life. The main character is not a 100% typical teenage boy, but he experiences a lot of the things that we all experience at one point when we're teenagers. And even the meaning behind the title of the book is beautiful, I think. And I actually reread this book once before, and I will definitely reread it again and again. Apparently I cannot count and skipped one number. So from 5 we're jumping to 7. And the seventh book is The Metamorphosis of the Prime Intellect. I also mentioned this book in one of my previous videos. This book is a sci-fi about how this prime intellect changed every aspect of life as we know. I think the author dealt with the question of life and death and immortality and being human really well, and the book really made me think about what it means to live and what it means to die and why we treasure our lives as much as we do. It is a pretty short book too. Even if you are not interested in any of the books that I've mentioned before, I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. I loved, loved, loved this book. So the 8th book is Wolf Totem by Jiang Rong. So this book is about a young Chinese student going to Inner Mongolia for a summer and experiencing the nomadic lifestyle of Mongolian/Inner Mongolian people. And as the title implies, the book deals with a lot of aspects of nature and the balance of nature, and the book also deals with a lot of things related to wolves, as the name also implies. I think it was a beautiful book, but at times it was really repetitive. Maybe like the translation, I read the book in Mongolian, so maybe the translation might have been a bit off. But if you just ignore the very repetitive parts, the book in general is really good. It makes us think about why we should value nature more and why the balance that we should have in our life is also important. The 9th book that I have here is 1984 by George Orwell. I would have a really hard time to find a person who does not know about this book or who hasn't heard of this book. The book really made me think about what it means to live in our current society, although our society now has a lot of problems, but it made me really value whatever I have, like the freedom of speech. We have media and we can post literally anything we want, and then we are not being watched as closely as the people of the book were watched by the Big Brother. The book also made me question the accuracy of history and how whatever we know about the world can be changed in a matter of seconds, and how the new generation of people can be raised on a completely different mentality. So I think it is a very interesting book, and it's one of the classics, so you wouldn't go wrong if you read this book. And the last book that I have here is The Lakota Way by Joseph M. Marshall III. So this book is a collection of short stories of folklore. You see, international people problem. Sometimes I cannot pronounce words, and that is so annoying to me, but I will try. Folklore. So the book consists of folklore stories, and each chapter consists of one story. I'm really interested in Native American history and culture. I think each tribe is amazing in its own right, and I think we should study history anyways, but I would definitely like to learn more about the Lakota people or just the Native American tribes in general. I think this specific book just tells us how to be a better person, because each chapter is devoted to a personality trait that is valued by the Lakota people. So, for example, one chapter would be devoted to humility and why it is important. Another chapter would be devoted to patience and why patience is important, and etc., etc. So I think reading that book, it just puts a lot of things in perspective, and it just makes you think about what it means to be a good person or a better human being. So yeah, so sorry about the miscalculation, but I just mentioned 9 books. These are the books that I would definitely reread multiple times, maybe until I die. If you guys found anything interesting, if you have read any of these books, you can let me know in the comment section down below. And also, maybe you should recommend me some books that you would definitely reread. This is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching me, and if you noticed how sweaty I am, excuse me. The AC of my new apartment is really bad, and it is really, really hot in New York right now, so I'm just trying not to melt. And that is why I'm wearing only a tank top. Thank you guys for watching me, and as I always say, do not forget that you are an amazing human being, beautiful inside and out. And if you liked my video, you can click the thumbs up button. If you want to subscribe to my channel so that you can see this face more often, you can also click the subscribe button. And if you have any opinions, any suggestions, anything that you want to say to me, you can also leave them in the comment section down below. I hope you guys are enjoying the summer with a really good AC. Bye!